Hi, this is James from Horse Race Ratings, and this is the updated tutorial for the ratings and race cards. Obviously, long-standing members will know that you can actually access the ratings via the members area through the website. You can also access the pro version through that as well, but generally the best way to use the pro version is to use the Power BI link that you get sent when you sign up to the pro service. This tutorial is all about the ratings and race cards. So when we open that, you're presented with a kind of landing screen within the ratings and race cards. I'll just wait for this to load up. It does take a little bit longer as I'm recording the screen. And what you can see here from previous versions, it's had a bit of an overhaul in terms of the filters available to you, but the amount of data that's now available as well on the ratings and race cards. So starting off with some navigation, just on the left hand side here you've got an arrow to go back to the previous screen. There's a clear filter button here, so if you are looking at a particular race and you want to reset, you can reset the race card there. And there's also a key here. If you click on that, it'll give you an idea of some of the information which is on the ratings and race cards. I do need to add a bit more information to this as well for some of the new features on the race card. So further navigation, we have a select race date here. Now normally it would only be that particular day's racing. This has now been updated so you can view everything for that particular year. So that's what I've done. So for you've got every race date here, so you can go all the way back to, so for March, for example, and you can select that date and they'll just pull back the tracks for that particular race date, and you can look at any of the races on that particular day for the 31st of March, and you can do that for any of the races. So there we go, I've got Ludlow here as well, so let's just do that. There we go. So you can basically kind of view any race cards for this particular year, and that will reset itself when we get into 2022, and they'll start from the 1st of January and moving forward. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll just concentrate on today's racing. So we'll go to the 15th of October and we'll look at Fakenham, for example. And then what that will do now is this will filter through the race times, but it'll also filter the other kind of selections here. So if you're looking on a particularly busy day's rating, if you just want to concentrate on the better races, you can go by class and then you can kind of work your way backwards. So it's all very intuitive and it filters down as you go through your selections. Let's just pick one of the races at Fakenham today, where there's a few runners, just so we can, once I've picked Fakenham, there's not many runners at Fakenham today, which is a bit of a shame. Okay, this one will do, the 323. So this is a Class 5 handicap novices hurdle. So at the top you'll get a bit of information about the race, so obviously the track, the code, the race time, the race name, what category type it is, handicap novices hurdle, but you can also see that now on the filters up here, and then you've got the distance, any age restrictions, the going, track direction, and the prize money, which is to the winner. Underneath that then there's a slight change here in terms of the last version. So we now have a form pop up on the left hand side, the main race card data and some rating information in the middle, and then on the left hand side there's another pop up which is about the horse profile. Underneath that we have all of the rating information in terms of strike rates and profit, and place strike rates as well. So this is based on all the various rating categories which are available, and obviously you can use the index key for that, but you have things here like an actual race score, you have a speed rating, a last race rating, a trainer rating, we have a jockey rating, today's conditions rating, so that's based on weight against favouritism, etc., performance of the track historically, and we have a stallion rating as well. And on the left hand side we've got a win strike rate rating, so this takes into account the strike rates across all of the rating categories and gives you a score, and it's ranked in that way. We have a value rating, that's what the HRR is. This looks at the profitability of all of the ratings combined and gives you a rating on that basis. There's a Van der Waal rating, so that's based on number of runs and prize money. And then we get into the kind of HRR kind of plus ratings, which factors in a horse's performance based both from a win and place strike rate standpoint, or score standpoint rather, based on a horse's historic performance. But the main rating is the HRR rating. That's at the top, and obviously again you get a win strike rate, profit, and a place strike rate for all of the ratings on that particular basis. Now, as a trend, what I tend to do is to look at where there's a lot of kind of 1 or 2 stars, and if there's a big strike rates in these key areas, that would be an immediate shortlist for me to work from a particular race. And obviously you can see here, you know, Midnight Duel and Jumping Cats look to be pretty solid in terms of that particular basis. The other thing to look out for is the profit. So where you have a good win strike rate and a decent profit figure, then obviously that's also a really decent go-to as well, even if it's a kind of a medium strike rate, say 15 to 25%, but the profitability is really high. That's something really to consider in terms of maybe like an outsider's bet or a smaller bet to play in that particular race. We have some other kind of standard information here with regards to the horse's age, the sex of the horse, obviously the HRR calculated odds, and some form official rating. There's an official rating plus or minus marker here. Obviously, so when it's red, it means it's probably negative because the horse has gone up in the weights. If it's green, the horse is actually coming down in the weights in terms of ratings. And then this also gives you a class of race plus or minus. So if you look at this one here, Balcardi is down £2 and has actually dropped a grade in race. And that would be in this type of race, or a natural hunt race as well. We've got some other information around day since last race, the weight, any headgear, and then some C&D form. And then what this does here, this actually looks at a horse's performance from a win strike rate standpoint, where they've actually performed, you know, well previously. So a kind of a gold star relates to a certain percentage of wins on the going. We've got code and category, course and distance, then course on its own and distance on its own as well. So the more stars you see here, the more favourable the conditions of that particular race are to that horse, and that's based on the horse, not by rating. Then we have some standard training and jockey information, and then one of the new features which is now here, when you go back to look at previous results, you can actually see the results with the Betfair win and place prices on the race cards as well. Now, back to lay is something new. I do highlight horses where I think they are worth considering for a back to lay bet on the exchanges. What that does do, it looks at a certain horse's performance and a percentage that horse has dropped in its previous runs. It looks at a certain number of runs, looks at a few other parameters as well. And I've graded those. So red generally is a bit more risky in terms of, or you should reduce the kind of margin that you want. Amber would be kind of a medium margin, and then green is more of a kind of, if you want to be a bit more aggressive in your market, you can do. Now, they're not horses to back to win, but if you do definitely back to lay them, you will come out with some decent profit. They do win quite a few of races, but they're not profitable from a win-only standpoint. It's purely for a back delay. So when you see horses on that basis, then obviously, you know, can really consider them if you like to trade. Okay, on the form pop-up, so if we look at Midnight Duel, for example, if I just highlight the view form, what this will do, it'll go back for the last couple of years, and it'll pull back the horse's performance. So you can see, obviously, the horse's performance there, the form, on the bottom half, and on the top half you get a nice little visual chart that will show you a horse's kind of official rating, where they finished, but then also where they've maybe gone up or down in class. So that's the purple line there. On the right hand side we have a horse profile. So again, if we look at Midnight Duel, what this does, it goes back and looks at the horse's overall performance for all of its runs since 2018. So Midnight Duel would obviously has run so many times. It's just taking a little bit longer to load up because I am recording the screen at the same time. Let's just give that a second to pop up. it is a bit quicker when you're on the just obviously when you're not recording the screen. So you'll see here Midnight Jewel's had 16 runs, has 3 wins, got a win strike rate of 18% and a play strike rate of 31%. But then you can see how well the horses perform with regards to, you know, the code, race type, the direction of the track. And you can also see as well, you know, any other information, so kind of the average winning price, the highest winning PSP of the horse, etc. So there's some really useful information there if you want to delve deeper into a horse's performance. The other feature which you have is if you right click on your mouse, you can actually drill through to view a horse form in a bit more detail. What this does, it kind of combines the horse's form and the horse's profile. So if we do that again for Midnight Jewel, you'll get to see all of the information here for Midnight Jewel, and you'll get to see, but what you will do is you will see all of the horse's history. So, you know, if the horse has been running for more than 4 years, obviously going back to 2018, then you'll see all of that information there. The one thing you can do from here is, for example, if you wanted to see or view an historic race card, if you just hover over the race date, it will pull back the historic race card as well for that particular race. That is normally quite useful because you can, if you wanted to see some collateral form, you can actually then drill through as well to the historic race. So if I just do this as an example, so here's the historic race for that particular date. But if I wanted to see what a Samba Dancer done since then, I can just drill through to the horse form and it'll now pull the data for Samba Dancer. So you can see here Samba Dancer obviously had some pretty good collateral form since that race when it was second to Midnight Jewel. So hence boosting the form of Midnight Jewel. All you need to do then is click on the back arrows and it'll take you back to where you were previously. So we'd be back here now on Midnight Jewel. Oh, sorry, let's go back again. Yeah, so one thing you'll have to go back to the race card to get back to Midnight Jewel, so the previous selection. So that gives you the horse form. There's other things you can do as well from here. So you can look at trainer form. You know, so if you want to look at how Charlie Lonsdon was doing. And let's just clear that. And go back. Yeah, one thing it will do, I think I've had some presets on the card, so just bear with me on that. But what you can do, you can actually clear it and just go back and you can see the trainer form. So this will now pull back the form for Charlie Lonsdon. So you can see that Charlie Lonsdon's got an 11% strike rate overall, but it gives you the breakdowns here of how well, you know, he performs at certain tracks with certain horses or jockeys, etc. So plenty of information here on that basis, and that works the same for the jockey and for the stallion. And you can actually drill down wherever you see the horse's names. On the bottom half you can see horse form here because that's the horse. If you go to the trainer, stats tab here, you can also drill down here for Charlie Lonsdon and for the horse as well, because it has both the horse and the trainer name here. So on the bottom half we have, as I said, all of the rating strike rates and the profitability of those, so you can see that. So obviously, as I said, what you're looking for really is where you have quite a lot of stars but also big strike rates and also some really decent profitability as well. So there hasn't been too many races of this type. It looks like there's been 3 races of this type at Fakenham, some handicap novice hurdles as a class 5, but you can obviously see all of the information here for that. Then we have some trainer and jockey stats. So this looks at how well the trainer and the jockey do when they're ranked number 1. So that's that one there, that's the HRR strike rate. So, you know, Gary Moore does very well with Jamie Moore when they're ranked number 2. They have a 27% strike rate, but they are profitable as well. Then you have trainer and jockey at the track and code. So again, Jamie Moore and Gary Moore do quite well at Fakenham, whereas Charlie Lonsdon and Tom Buckley not so much. But it looks like obviously there wouldn't be a huge amount of runners on that basis. And then we have some time kind of stats, so what they've done in the last 7 days from a strike rate and profit standpoint. the last 14 days and the last 30 days. So you can see from here that Charlie Longsdon and Tom Buckley have actually been in some fairly decent form in the last few weeks. And then that's the same basis for the trainer stats. You get all of this in here. What I have done in here is included the runners and the winners for Charlie Longsdon. So you can see that there, that's his win P&L and his place P&L. So he's not a very, very profitable trainer to follow. Neither is Gary Moore. He's actually really, really poor. But from a HRR strike rate, they do perform quite well when they rank this number. Then you have the track and code again, and then obviously the 7-day stats. And at the end here, you have horse age, strike rate as well for the trainers, so how well they do with horses of this age, and then the profitability of that as well. And then a similar thing for the jockey, but with the jockey you get a horse form. So this would mean Tom Buckley on Midnight Duel has got a 50% strike rate on him, but you can see all of that information here for the jockeys. And then there's the same for the Stallion as well. Horse form stats, basically it just gives you the information back. So you'll see here on the going, Malibu's got a 100% strike rate, hence why there's a gold star. If you look at Midnight Duel, it's above 15%, or above 10% rather, so there's an empty star there, so they perform half decent on that basis from an all wins strike rate standpoint. But you can see it's blank everywhere else, and hence why there's no stars up here. So that's the collaboration between these two. Horse form guide, this basically means it pulls back all of the runners in this particular race, and what you can do is you can then start to filter if you want to. So obviously we're running at Fakenham, you can just pull back horses' performance at Fakenham. So you can see here, actually, yeah, not many of them have all run at Fakenham. Actually, looks like it seems to be the first time at the track. But if you wanted to look at race type, for example, and look at handicaps, that's probably going to see, yeah, so there's actually quite a few of them here. So you can see some of the historic form in handicap hurdles. So you can see how well they've performed. So there's some filters here if you want to kind of filter down to find some kind of collaborative elements from previous runs to runs at the track. Then there's some horse OR stats. This just gives you kind of last winning OR. There's a key here for that. Last code win OR, etc. Race type, class of race, distance, and going. So you've got some kind of information here. So if you're looking at Malibu, obviously it won off 96 last time out. It's now off a mark of 104. That would generally tell you that he's probably a bit over his last winning mark, particularly with the fact when you look at his form that he pulled up last time, and he probably pulled up off a mark of the age off 105. He's been dropped a pound, so he's probably a little bit above the handicapper, so probably one that I would avoid in this particular race. And then you've got an in-play betting profile. This is really useful. It gives you all of the average information with regards to movement, place, odds of a horse when it's obviously gone through in running as well also, and obviously what the traded volumes of that is for that particular horse. If you just hover over the horse, yes, there is a pop-up here. You can actually see a breakdown of the movement of that particular runner. So this gives you all of Midnight Duel's previous runs, and then you can see how well it's done in running. So where I've highlighted that in blue, that's where it's a pretty positive number, so it's bigger than a 50% reduction in play. So Midnight Duel is probably not a bad one actually from a back to late perspective, but probably one just to be a little bit careful of, because it has pulled up on a few occasions. If we just try and find another one potentially where so if you look at this one here for Tigray is actually can be a bit of a positive in terms of big numbers, but if you look at his last two runs, he's actually traded greater than his starting price in running all the way round. So again, that would be one to be a little bit wary of. But he did have a bit of a patch there where he was very, very much one to back delay in running. So what you're looking at is for trends, etc. So Tigray again is probably one just to avoid on a back delay perspective. But you've got that information to hand, and you can obviously make your own judgments on that. But that's pretty much how the ratings work. There's a lot of information in here. Just follow the blog, join the Telegram Telegram group, and that will also help you then with regards to, what things to look for in the ratings. I will do a separate video tutorial on building systems and the other aspects and features within the ratings, but that gives you an overview of the new race cards and ratings for horseраceratings.co.uk. Thank you.